Senate come to order. Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Senator Barnett. Senator Barrett. Senator Berry. Senator Blackman. Senator Blackwell. Senator Blunt. Senator Boyd. Senator Branning. Senator Brumfield. Senator Bryan. Senator Butler. Senator Carter. Senator Chazanall. Senator Chisholm. Senator DeBar. Senator Delano. Senator England. Senator Fillingane. Senator Frazier. Senator Harkins. Senator Hickman. Senator Hill. Senator Hobson. Senator Horn. Senator Jackson. Senator Johnson. Senator Jordan. Senator Kirby.
Here.
Senator Ladner. Senator McCon. Senator McClendon. Senator McMahon. Senator Michelle. Senator Norwood. Senator Parker. Senator Parks. Senator Polk. Senator Rhodes. Senator Robinson. Senator Seymour. Senator Simmons of the 12. Senator Simmons of the 13. Senator Sparks. Senator Suber. Senator Tate. Senator Thomas. Senator Thompson. Senator Turner Ford. Senator Whaley. Senator Wiggins. Senator Williams. Senator Younger. Mr. President, a quorum is present.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Will the senators and guests in the gallery please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Today we have for our invocation Pastor Jason Webb, the senior pastor at Goodwater Baptist Church in McGee, and he's actually a guest of Senator Rhodes and Senator Berry, I understand. So if you would, Pastor Webb, at this time do the invocation.
Let us pray. Father in heaven, we want to thank you so much for life itself. Lord, we are blessed that you have given us lungs and air in our lungs to breathe, Lord. You are holding our heart and rhythmic beat right now, Lord, so we are all dependent on you, and we thank you for life itself. Lord, I want to lift up the men and women here today. Lord, in this great state of Mississippi, I pray, God, that you would bless us. We pray that we would follow you well. We pray that you would continue to be our God and lead us well. Lord, I want to pray for wisdom and discernment. Lord, every one of us in this room, no matter what the occupation and what the situation calls for, we need your wisdom and we need your discernment. So, Lord, help us not to, as the Scripture says, to lean on our own understanding. Lord, that we might follow you. Lord, the Scripture also tells us the beginning of wisdom is fear of the Lord. So, Lord, help us to walk in those ways. Lord, I do want to take a moment of privilege, Lord, and pray for these individuals in this room today personally. Lord, I want to pray for their families. I want to pray for what's going on behind the scenes on top of their occupation, Lord. Lord, I know that there's so much in this world, and there's so many dangerous things and terrible things, Lord, but there's so many good things. But, Lord, I also know that we're all dealing with something. We're all coming out of a storm. We're all in a storm. We're about to go in a storm. So, Lord, I pray personally for these individuals. And, Lord, I thank you so much for this weekend. Lord, that we're not limited to just this weekend to celebrate the resurrection of Christ, Lord, but we thank you for this weekend as we are reminded of it, the victory that we have. So, Lord, I pray that you would give victory to this room. Pray for this great state of Mississippi. And we ask all this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. Good job. All right, if you want to get our picture on, where do you want us? Get me in the middle. Yes, sir. I'm used to that.
Sir, can you get that top one? Thank you, sir.
Good. Make sure mine's ready.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Good to meet you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you very much.
Pray for y'all.
please come back. Please do that. Okay, next, reading of the journal, Senator Pope.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate dispense with the reading of the journal.
Senator Pope moves to dispense with the reading of the journal. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Message and petition, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, there are none.
Committee reports. Senator Pope, you recognize.
Mr. President, I move the Senate dispense with the reading of the committee reports.
Senator moves to dispense with the reading of the committee reports. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator Pope.
Mr. President, I move the Senate dispense with the reading of the titles of the bills and resolutions.
Senator moves to dispense with the reading of the titles of the bills and resolutions. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Ayes have it. And let's see. Committee reports, we done. Introduction of bills and resolutions. Introduction of guests by senators is next. I'm sorry, Senator Pope. Guests by senators. Senator Chisholm.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two introductions.
You recognize.
Thank you. First of all, we have a very special man here today, in case we get sick, the doctor of the day, Dr. John Mitchell. He's the best. He's a good friend of mine, director of the Office of Physicians Workforce, and currently president of Mississippi State Medical Association from Pontotoc, Mississippi. Please make him and his nurse welcome.
Welcome to your Senate.
My next introduction, we have some very special guests in the North Gallery, some constituents of mine from New Albany, which is a great place to be from. The owners of Kevin Charles Furniture in New Albany, Mississippi, Mr. Rusty Berryhill and his wife, Miss Debbie Berryhill. And with them, we have Jessica Lagrica, Ariane Vaughn, and Alan Gilstrap. Please make them welcome. Welcome to your capital.
Senator Parks for introduction.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I could direct everyone's attention to the West Gallery this morning. We have Jim Hobson with Magnolia Hospital with us today. If you would, let's make him welcome to his capital today.
Welcome to your capital. Senator Suber.
Thank you, Mr. President. If everyone will look in the South Gallery, I have a couple good friends of mine, Susan and Tony Harden, and they own the Little Birdie Pillow Factory in Cahoon City, and they're finalists today in the Mississippi Makers Challenge. Welcome to your state Senate.
Senator Robinson, introduction.
Yes, Mr. President. If you would turn your attention to the South Gallery, I would like to introduce to you a finalist in the Mississippi Makers Challenge, the coolest thing in Mississippi, Melissa Harrison and Lisa Hinton of Thermocool in Laurel.
Welcome to your Senate. Senator McMahon, introduction, please.
Mr. President, thank you. In the South Gallery, we have some guests. I'll ask them to rise as their name is called. They represent Ghost Shelter, hands-free wearable canopy in South Tupelo, Mississippi. J.A. Huddleston, Kenny Burrows, Vonda Burrows, Beverly Christopher, and Becky Martin. I ask the Senate to make them welcome to their state Senate.
Welcome to the Senate. I believe that would be any other introductions. That would do. We'll go to the calendar of the day. Go to the appropriations calendar. Senator Hobson.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we go to item 1 on today's calendar and have the title read.
Please read the title.
House Bill number 1705, budget process, bring forward certain sections relating to and provide for transfers of funds.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. Anyone object? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator Hobson.
Thank you. I move adoption, strike all, and ask to be recognized to explain.
You're recognized to explain, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the, as you know, we keep alive 2 transfer bills typically as much as we can because we may have need to use both bills at the end of session. So this is the strike all. It's just inserting the same language we've already passed in our previous strike all. There is a reverse repealer in this bill. I'll yield for questions.
Are there any questions? No questions, Senator.
Move adoption to strike all.
Senator moves adoption of strike all. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, we have a question at the last second here. I'm sorry, Senator Albert Butler, did you have a question?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Do you yield?
Yes, I have an amendment I would like to add to that particular bill.
To the strike all?
Yes.
Please bring it forward. Oh, Senator, I'm sorry, they tell me that we've already adopted the strike all before. You want to reconsider the vote on the strike all, Senator? Senator Hobson would, or not?
Well, I would say if he wants to, my thought is we adopt the strike all and move it for final passage thereafter. If he wants to hold it on a motion to reconsider to bring up for debate tomorrow, that would be my suggestion. Or some other time, he doesn't have to bring it tomorrow. But
Okay, so now I'll go.
And this bill is not on the deadline for today.
Thank you, Senator. So the motion is to adopt the strike. We've already adopted the strike all.
So now
So
final passage by use of the morning roll call.
There you go. Use of the morning roll call has been suggested. Anyone object to this procedure? Anyone wish to be recorded as voting no? Seeing none, please record all present by the use of the morning roll call as voting aye. Senator Hobson,
Thank you. I ask we go to item 2 on the calendar and have the title read.
please read the title.
House Bill number 1704, Appropriations, revise certain fiscal year 2024 appropriations and direct transfers.
Senator
Make
Hobson.
your usual motion.
Senator makes your usual motion. Anyone object? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. The ayes have it. Senator Hobson.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the one of the fixes bills to change some of the language for the various projects. This is exactly what we've already approved with one exception. In Section 3, the language for the renovations to the Davie Whitney complex at Alcorn State University, the language from the bill last year said repair, renovation, and I think it was repair, renovation, and expansion. And they also wanted to include the terms construction and also furnishing and equipping. Some of the funds needed to put in some various equipment and furniture there for that facility. So it just changes the language. It does not change the monetary amount of that expenditure. I'll yield for questions.
No questions.
If there are no questions, I move passage by use of the morning roll call.
Senator suggested passage by use of morning roll call. Anyone object? Anyone wish to be recorded as voting no? Present. Seeing none, please record all present by the use of morning roll call as voting aye. Senator Branning, do you have an introduction?
Yes, Mr. President. Introduction out of order, please.
You're recognized.
I'd like to draw your attention to the West Gallery. I have visiting with me my friend Lee McCall, who is Administrator for Neshoba County General Hospital. Please help me make him welcome to his capital today.
Welcome to your capital. Okay, Senator Hobson.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we go to item 3 on today's calendar and have the title read.
Please read the title.
Senate Bill number 3162, appropriation additional to DMH Children and Youth PRTF ARPA funds.
I make the usual motion.
Senator makes your usual motion. Anyone object? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. The ayes have it. Senator Hobson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me just give a brief summary. I'm going to ask Senator Polk to get up and talk more about ARPA in just a moment. This is a bill that we discussed yesterday in appropriations as it relates to proposed ARPA expenditures. Just an overview of where we are. I think we discussed previously something around $140 million we think is going to be brought back into the budget for ARPA expenditures this year. We now think it may be more than that with interest in some other projects that may fall out. It could be as high as the 180 to 200 million. We really, again, we won't know exactly until we get close to the finish line. The ARPA subcommittee has discussed, those that have worked on that have discussed expenditures for those projects. Again, I'll let Senator Polk explain that in more detail about some funding that would go to MDOT and some funding that would go in for state buildings and funds to pay off the remainder of the contracted amount for the Horn group. That's the one that's been monitoring all of the ARPA expenditures and will continue to do so. This project and this bill, though, relates to a proposed $20 million expenditure for canopy to assist the Department of Mental Health and Child Protective Services as it relates to high-intensity psychiatric treatment for many of these adolescents that they're seeking to house there. There are a lot of questions in committee yesterday, a lot of good questions and legitimate questions about this expenditure because this is Canopy is a private entity. They're not a public entity. However, this was proposed by the Department of Mental Health and Child Protective Services, and here's why. Canopy's already gotten a federal grant of about $5-point-something million. I don't remember the exact number. I may have it here, but over $5 million. It is $5 million from the federal government to construct this facility, and they are seeking an additional $20 million to finish out the facility. And what it would do is create 20 new beds, and it would renovate 30 beds to be used for some of the most needy of our youth that CPS and mental health are both dealing with. Again, the concerns that I thought were brought forward in committee were really good yesterday about the spending state money on this. I talked to mental health after our meeting. I talked to Child Protective Services, Andrea Sanders and Wendy Bailey, the leaders of those two organizations. I talked to Canopy again about this yesterday, and I've even got an amendment prepared to talk about some of the things that were addressed in committee. Just to let you know about Canopy, they've been around for 112 years. This used to be the Mississippi Children's Home, and they've been taking kids from our state departments. They're primarily funded through state government, through mental health, Child Protective Services, Medicaid, and DHS. I think somewhere in the 70-80% of their total budget comes from state dollars, where our agencies contract with them to take care of some of our people that have the most severe, our children that have this, severe concerns and needs. And so they're well ahead of where we are. I talked to the director of mental health yesterday and said, could you do this facility? And they said, not nearly for this cost. It'd be a lot more expensive for us to do it, and we would have to maintain it and keep up with the cost to do it at mental health. I talked to Child Protective Services about this, and I brought it up in committee yesterday, and she told me the millions of dollars that she has spent both sending kids to out-of-state facilities. There's one in Memphis called youth villages. They send a lot of kids to out-of-state because they can't take them in-state. And so, and then they're spending money on hotel rooms in-state for kids that don't have any place to go. The court orders them to go to a secure location, so that not only are they spending money on the hotels, but they're having to spend money on monitors there to watch these children as they go to these hotel rooms. We felt like after hearing this from them and them both strongly advocating for this, that this would be a great way for a lot of our kids to get seen. I want to give you a few statistics too that I think were important. According to CPS, there's an average of 30 to 35 kids that fall into this category at any one time. And last year they identified about 95 children in the state that would qualify for this. Spent over $2 million for hotels and sitter services last year. Roughly 20 kids at any given time are sent to a facility similar to the one in Memphis, youth villages. $2 million are spent on out-of-state treatment, and expected to spend up to $5 million this year on treatment. A lot of these kids, where they're going to the hotel rooms, they're seeing very high recidivism rates because they're not getting any treatment there, and they feel like if they can go to Canopy, they're getting intensive treatment and training. They've already received the 20 certificate of need beds for this facility in Jackson, and they feel like this is a great way to leverage a public-private partnership to put the funds there. But again, having said all that, I think there's legitimate concerns about sending some of this money to a private entity. But this is an entity that's been around for a long, long time, and I don't think they're going to be going anywhere. And the proposed amendment, and Mr. President, I'd probably like to go ahead and put that up on the screen at this time. The amendment has several items in here that I hope will address the concerns of our members. The amendment would require that Canopy enter into a memorandum of agreement with the Department of Mental Health, and it would do the following things in that MOA. One is to give first preference to individuals that are under the care of DMH and CPS. Two, it would designate that at least 33 of those beds are provided for the patients from the DMH and CPS. They would provide that they're going to keep all the beds in satisfactory condition according to what DMH requires. They would also execute a promissory note and a deed of trust to DMH equal to the amount of the state funds that are put into the project, and they would reimburse the same amount if there was any substantial breach of the MOA. This would authorize the department to enter into an agreement with them and maintain any claims they have to recoup all money that was sent to them. And this would also release the department and the state from any obligation to maintain it. All the maintenance costs would be left with Canopy and not with the state. And for purposes of the breach, that if they didn't have their beds in satisfactory condition for any period of 3 consecutive months, or if they file for bankruptcy, or if they permanently cease their operations, that would qualify DMH to come in and take over the beds and attempt to recoup the money. So that's an explanation of the bill. That's an explanation of the amendment that I hope alleviates some of the concerns that were expressed in committee. But I'm happy. I'll yield for questions this time, and I would move adoption of the amendment too.
Senator Jordan, do you have a question?
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
Do you yield, Senator Jordan?
I do yield, yes.
Senator Jordan.
Chairman, maybe you've answered already, but I want to ask you to be sure. How much money are they asking for, Canopy's asking for from us?
$20 million. Now,
20.
Keep in mind, Senator, they're asking for 21.7, thank you, but we've got 20 million in the proposal. Keep in mind, these funds have to be obligated by the end of the year. They're already way ahead. They're already in the process, and they've gotten federal approval, so they're moving forward, and this has to be completed by the end of 2026.
So this would avoid going to Tennessee or some other place for treatments. Canopy would be able to take care of it on his own.
Yes, sir. That's part of it now. They've got people going to, as I mentioned, hotel rooms, or they just don't get the treatment right now. But this would help keep them here in Mississippi, here in Jackson. It's being built right over here on West Street, so it's not too far away.
$20 million. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Jordan.
Senator Angela Turner Ford, do you have a question?
Yes, Mr. President.
Do you yield?
I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under what terms are there any terms under which the deed of trust would be released?
Under what the trust
The
would be?
the deed of trust, I think is what's proposed in the amendment. Would it ever be released?
That's a good question. We can put that in the MOA, that be the deed of trust up till the time that we expend the $20 million. Maybe we didn't put every term in the motion to amend in this proposed amendment, but certainly that ought to be in the MOA that they enter into. These are just some of the highlighted terms in this proposed amendment, Senator.
And so are we anticipating that Canopy would owe the state any money under this deed of trust?
No, we're not. But if something happened and they went under, we've got a deed of trust, which would be a priority lien on the property that we could take it over. Hopefully we don't ever have to take it over. They've been around 112 years. I hope they can stick around for another 112 more. Or they go out of business because we don't have that need for our children. But I think it'd be good for us. We talked about that, or say we being myself and the director of Canopy, and I talked to mental health and CPS too, that gives us some security in the property that if it goes bad and we had to take it over, we can make it a state facility at that site.
Thank you. Well, I guess that was my main concern, was since it's referred to as a deed of trust, are we anticipating conditions when it would ever be released, or is it perpetual?
You know,
and I understand that's additional thought is required.
That's a good question, and maybe we don't want it released, and we've got a place to go if they ever don't do what they're supposed to do. May put a term on it. I'd let them talk about that, and maybe do like you would a traditional 30-year deed of trust, or 20 years at least. I think we'll get our money back way shorter period of time than that, but certainly 20 or 30 years wouldn't be out of the ordinary or out of the realm of reasonable.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Norwood, do you have a question?
Yes, Mr. President.
You yield, Senator Norwood.
I do yield.
Yeah, Senator Norwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Hobson. I'd like to have a couple of friendly questions. I know we have a lot of difficult situations, I guess you will, with the population that would normally be served by CPS through cannabis, through an organization, I guess I should say. Will cannabis be working with those agencies that will be making referrals to make sure that we are able to accommodate some of the children? Like, I think there was a couple that I was familiar with that had to go to Tennessee for special care that was extremely expensive. Would they be working with, is that a conversation that they would have with these agencies to make sure that they are accommodating, which would be very much cost saving if they're able to provide their treatment within the state rather than having to go out of state and receive that?
Yes, sir. And of course, we don't know how many children we're going to have. I'm not going to sit here and say there may not be a need if we fill up here at Canopy, that we may not have a need to go out of state. So I want to be real clear to everybody. There could be a need to go back to the place in Memphis or some other location that may take the children. But in this proposal, there must be a minimum of 33 beds that are allocated to CPS and mental health to put the ones that we're taking care of in there first.
Well, I guess, I mean, and I understand that, and I respect that, but I guess what I'm saying, there's a difficult population that they've not been able to serve within state. And I'm saying, I guess my question is, will there be some priority given to that difficult population? That's, I mean, the run-of-the-mill services may be $5,000 or $10,000, but then some of these cases, I understand, up in the thousands of dollars that it costs to provide services, but they're going out of state to receive those services because they're somewhat unique in those circumstances. And I mean, I know you may not be able to answer that now, but I just hope that would be an ongoing conversation with the organization to make sure that some priority is given to that population, because it's going to help the state save some child protective services in those organizations that's having to go out of state to acquire to obtain those services for the population.
I was looking at, I must have left this on my desk downstairs. I was looking for a memo or something that I had looked at that talked about the acute care that these children needed, and I don't have it with me, but it's a pretty high level. Maybe that may be it. Corbin, thank you. It's more detailed. It's about a little over 2 pages. So there is a certain acute care psychiatric treatment that's needed for these children. And I'm looking for the magical language, Senator, but I can get it to you. But it's some of the toughest to place and toughest to deal with. Right. And there aren't a lot of places that can take these children.
And I'm not to belabor, but that's just one of the concerns. And I know it will save money if they can accommodate that population rather than your normal or your traditional services that they will provide. Now, are we paying? We will still have to pay to acquire the services through for the children that's placed. Is that correct?
Yeah, most of these children, they tell me, most of these are already on Medicaid, and they take Medicaid for these children.
And also, you said that this would reduce the potentials of CPS having to place children in hotels that would require, I mean, which is very costly for the hotel as well as for the person that's gonna have to sit with them, and so it would provide, that could very well be a cost-saving measure as well. Am I
Sure.
correct?
Yeah, yeah. You think about it, if we had 20 or 30 kids that are staying there and they've got supervision at Canopy's cost, that frees up, and especially when you're in the hotel setting, I think you have to have a couple of workers that are on that child, so it frees up that, 40 to 60 workers, let's say, that can go out and handle other cases. And we've already got some shortages in CPS, so hopefully this will free them up to do other work and not have to do the kind of maintenance work and give the attention that we would otherwise have to give through CPS.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Hobson.
Thank you, Senator Norwood.
Senator Branning, do you have a question?
Yes, Mr. President.
Do you yield, Senator Branning?
I yield.
Senator Branning, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just very quickly, I want to clarify the children that you anticipate being served at this facility. Is it those receiving the therapeutic care as well as children in CPS custody that maybe need emergency placement that otherwise are maybe waiting on a resource home to be available?
Yes, this is both through mental health and CPS.
Okay,
That both want to place kids there.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that. And I appreciate the amendment with the deed of trust. I think it's a great addition to the bill. I'm very supportive. I've done a lot of youth court work over the years. This is huge, and so I appreciate your work. In fact, I anticipate requesting unanimous consent at the appropriate time to be a co-author. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Senator, I see no further questions.
Okay, if there are no further questions, I move adoption of the amendment. And
Senator,
the amendment does have a reverse repealer in it too, as this goes through, because we may have to tighten things up a little bit as we look at it.
Senator moves for adoption of the amendment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator Hobson.
Now I'll move passage by use of the morning roll call.
The senator suggests the use of morning roll call final passage. Any senator object to this procedure? Any senator wish to be recorded as voting no? Senator Blackwell is no. Anyone present wish to be voted? Senator Turner Ford is present. Any others? Seeing no others, please record all present by the use of the morning roll call as voting aye. Senator Michelle, you wish to be recognized?
Please, for an introduction out of order.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've noticed a friend in the West Gallery that I attended college with. David McMillan has gone on to do great things in life. He's now the CEO of Methodist Rehab Services. Would y'all join me in welcoming him to the State Senate?
Okay, anyone else? Senator Hobson.
Ask to go to item 4 on the calendar, have the title read.
Please read the title.
Senate Bill number 3163, appropriation additional to DFA administration ARPA funds.
I make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator Hobson.
Thank you. I ask you recognize Senator Polk to explain.
Senator Polk, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill, as you will see with two others that we'll present, are the way that we expended as a subcommittee of ARPA to the best way that would be able to be spent, the monies that we will have left over. And these are clawbacks from agencies that are not going to be able to spend their funds by the December 2026 deadline. This first bill is for $20 million, and it is to defray the administrative and reporting expenses that we have that are necessary to the federal government. This group is Horn Group that will be receiving the funding, and it's been requested by DFA. This group has become one of the national experts on the reporting of ARPA funds and have a contract with DFA that says that if they mislead and have an approval of a project that turns out not to be approved, this Horn Group will be responsible for any clawback. So $20 million is going to be about a $25 million total for the administration of this project. If there are no questions, use the morning roll call, final passage.
Are there any questions? I see no questions, Senator. So Senator suggested use the morning roll call, final passage. Any senator object? Any senator wish to be? Oh, Senator Norwood.
Mr. President,
You recognize, Senator.
I just wanted Senator Polk to state those numbers again. There's 20 million, those numbers again that you stated.
I'm sorry, what's the question?
No, I was trying to, if you would restate those numbers, the
Yes.
dollar amount.
The amount we're requesting is $20 million. We expect the total to be about $25 million for the process.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Okay, anyone else? Senator Sparks, before we vote?
A question.
You recognize.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is this going forward, or are we reaching back for some of the work they've already done?
This is the $20 million that, pardon? It's both.
Okay. And so if they determine, and when April comes or May, we're going home, we hope, this body. We hope we're going home in the next few weeks as a body.
Yes.
And the obligation of the money has to occur by December 31st of this year. So if the CPA firm determines something doesn't qualify, understand we're paying them to do their role. What happens to that money? If we've appropriated something and Horn says, we don't believe this qualifies, what happens?
We think gonna happen is we're gonna have a fund that we will approve before we end session this year that says any funds left over will go to this particular appropriation, and they will be able to use it for their appropriation by December 2026.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing no other questions, the senator suggested use the morning roll call for final passage. Does anyone object? Does any senator wish to be recorded as voting no? Present. Seeing none, please record all present by use of morning roll call as voting aye. Senator Hobson.
As we go to item 5 and have the title read.
Please read the title.
Senate Bill number 3164, appropriation additional to DFA Bureau of Buildings ARPA funds.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. Anyone object? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. The ayes have it. Senator Hobson.
Thank you. I ask that you recognize Senator Polk to explain.
Senator Polk, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is, the next bill is the one that will appropriate $60 million to the Bureau of Buildings under DFA. As you remember, 2 years ago, we appropriated quite a sum of money to start renovation on different projects that we have in our state buildings, certain needs that have been put off for years, and now we have funds to fix it. The Bureau of Buildings feels they need $95 million to complete all projects. However, there are so many needs out there. This bill will assure them of $60 million to be used in that $95 million need. So if there are no questions, use the morning roll call for final passage.
Are there any questions? Senator Horn, question?
Question.
You recognize Senator Horn?
Yes.
You yield to him.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Polk. Now, Senator Polk, we're talking about the $144 million that has been recaptured, right?
At least 144, yes.
All right. So based on the previous bill that you just handled on the floor and this bill, we're looking at dedicating $80 million of that at least $144 million. Is that right?
It does. Let me explain this. We have already moved $144 million. We anticipate close to another 50 to 60 million coming in. So we're going to head and look at the appropriation using that total number.
The 200 million?
Right at 200 million, yes. This, the bills that we will pass today will equal about 180 million.
Okay, so there are more bills to come.
I'm sorry?
There are more bills to come.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, seeing no further questions, Senator Polk has suggested use of morning roll call final passage. Any senator object to this procedure? Does anyone wish to be recorded as voting no? Present. Seeing none, please record all. Oh, I'm sorry. Senator Chisholm as present. Anyone else? Please record all others present by the use of morning roll calls voting aye. Senator Branning, for what purpose?
Mr. President, I'd like to request unanimous consent to be added as a co-author to Senate Bill 3162, please.
Please add the chairman. Oh, the chairman's already had. You wish to be also? Okay. Senator Wiggins, Senator Frazier, Senator McMahon, Senator Parker, Senator Jordan, Senator Parks, Senator Butler. Anyone else? Please record them as being co-authored. Okay, the bill is passed. Senator.
Thank you. I ask we go to item 6 and have the title read.
Please read the title.
Senate Bill number 3165, appropriation additional MDOT surface transportation project ARPA funds.
I'll make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. Anyone object? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator.
Thank you. I ask you recognize Senator Polk to explain.
Senator Polk, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill probably will come closer to home to each one of us than anything we've passed in ARPA today. This bill requests $80 million go to the DOT and for the allowable surface transportation projects included in the maintenance program of MDOT's, the 3-year plan for the period beginning upon passage and ending June 30, 2025. What this does is the project list that we have, that we go down the list and approve project after project after project, that stays politically neutral. The commissioners do not have the authority to change the list. It's a list of need. As we get $80 million to that list, that means every project that's done will move other projects up the list. So as funding becomes available, you will be able to see work in your area. We felt like as a committee that this was the most appropriate way to spend ARPA funds to ensure a good infrastructure for Mississippi and to move things forward very quickly. So $80 million to DOT for the projects list. If there are no questions, use of the morning roll call for final passage.
Senator Jordan, do you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do you yield for Senator Jordan for a question?
I do.
Senator Jordan.
What this does, Mr. Chairman, even though projects are there, if your commissioner from a certain out of the 3 districts have not gotten to it, this means that it will be done.
This project list is administered by the DOT, and the commissioners do not have the ability to move those items around on the list.
So what you are saying, they will not be changed if they have been designated for certain areas in the past.
That is correct. If they're on the list, we go down the list.
So if I have some that have not been done, this is an indication that they will be done, that the resources are there for it. So all I have to do is just work with the commissioner.
Well, work with DOT.
DOT, Department
Yes,
of Transportation.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Senator Horn, do you have a question?
Question.
You yield Senator Horn for a question?
I do.
Senator Horn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me, Senator Polk. Do you have a copy of the list of these projects?
It's the 3-year plan.
It's the MDOT
I believe it's
3-year
even
plan.
online.
The MDOT 3-year plan?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Horn. Any other questions? Senator Turner Ford, question?
Yes, Mr.
Do
President.
you yield to Senator Ford?
I do.
Senator Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question, and I don't understand this, and this is why I'm asking. You said that these funds will be administered by DOT according to their 3-year strategic plan.
Correct.
And the commissioners, the plans that they approve, are they separate from DOT? Or do those commissioners work off of the same 3-year strategic plan?
Everyone's working off the same 3-year plan. What I was trying to say is that politics will not be able to be involved in this, as that plan is already outlined, it's there, and projects won't be moved around. They'll just come up the list naturally.
And so the commissioners have to work off of the 3-year plan that has already been adopted?
For this project, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further questions, the senator suggested use of morning roll call for final passage. Any senator object? Any senator wish to be recorded as voting no? Present. Seeing none, please record all present by the use of morning roll call as voting aye. The bill is passed. We'll go to finance calendar. Senator Harkins, item 7.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to item 7, Senate Bill 2897, and have the title read.
Please read the title.
Senate Bill number 2897, ad valorem tax on home, allow credit for rebate for certain disabled veterans and surviving spouses of military members.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes your usual motion. Anyone object? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator Harkins.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is kind of a cleanup bill. We passed a bill last year that would make the ad valorem tax exemption for specifically on line 30, American veterans on and discharged from military service who has a service-connected total disability, the unremarried surviving spouse of a homeowner described in paragraph A, or the unmarried surviving spouse of a member of the United States Armed Forces who was killed or died on active duty, or a member of the reserve component of the United States Armed Forces or the National Guard who was killed or died on active duty for training. It gave them an ad valorem tax exemption, which was already on the books, but what the bill did last year was made it where they would recognize it the year they bought the house. The problem with that is that ad valorem is set based on January 1, and if you had a person that owned a house and one of these classifications of people came up and bought it in the end of June, basically the way the law was written is the person that owned the house for the first 6 months would get refunded their ad valorem tax, and that's not what the intent of this bill was to do. So what this bill does is it creates a credit that those people can take to the they can either pay the tax and get a refund of it, or they can present it to the Department of Revenue and get a credit that they can take to the county at the end of the year when they pay when the ad valorem taxes are due, and they've already been paid or credited at closing for the portion that the prior owner owned the home. So basically, this is a bill that's kind of cleaning up that intent of the language from last year. So that is the explanation of the bill. I'll be happy to yield for any questions.
Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, Senator Harkins.
Motion adoption on morning roll call. Final passage.
Senator suggests the use of morning roll call for final passage. Does any senator object? Does any senator wish to be recorded as voting no? Present. Seeing none, please record all present by the use of morning roll call as voting aye. The bill is passed. Senator Harkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to item 8, Senate Bill 3106, and have the title read.
Please read the title.
Senate Bill number 3106, tax exemptions, revised qualifying standards for business enterprises operating data centers.
Senator Harkins.
Make the usual motion.
Senator Harkins makes the usual motion. Anyone object? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator Harkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill basically is we're trying to codify the tax exemptions for data centers. In the bill, we're still working with MDA. I think ever since the Amazon announcement, the sands are shifting a little bit as it relates to data centers and the inquiries we've had in the state. And so we're basically wanting to put a bill out there that it puts in statute these tax exemptions for data centers with a minimum investment. And this number may change before the final version is brought before you. It does have a reverse repealer in it, but it has a $500 million investment with at least 50 new full-time jobs with a minimum average salary of 125% of the state annual wage. And it describes, line 26, what a data center is defined as. It leaves it up to several, not more than, it doesn't isolate it to one location. Somebody could come in and put, due to energy availability, they may have to put one in one location and one in another, similar to what Amazon's doing. So it allows for multiple locations, and it gives the exemption for all state taxes, whether it's sales tax, income tax, franchise tax, which is being phased out. And so we're basically just putting it in statute. That is an explanation of the bill. I'll be happy to yield for any questions.
Are there any questions? No questions, Senator. Motion? Oh, Senator Polk. I'm sorry, I did not see. Senator Polk, question?
Yes, question.
You yield, Senator Polk.
I do.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we are eliminating sales tax on the electricity that these data centers will use. Is that correct?
Correct.
Are there any other industries in Mississippi that are exempt?
Yes, electricity directly used in manufacturing is exempt from sales tax. So if you manufacture, that electricity is exempt according to DOR from sales tax. But electricity used in common places, restrooms, break rooms, other areas are not. But if it's directly involved in manufacturing, it is exempt from sales tax.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Any other questions? Seeing none, Senator Harkins.
Move final passage on the morning roll call.
Senator suggests to use the morning roll call for final passage. Anyone object to this procedure? Any senator wish to be recorded as voting no? No. Senator Chisholm, no. Anyone else? No. Present. Anyone wish to vote present? Senator Polk. Senator Polk as no? No. Senator Polk is no. Anyone else? Seeing none, please record all others present by the use of morning roll call as voting aye. The bill is passed. Senator Harkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to item 9, Senate Bill 3161, have the title read.
Please read title.
Senate Bill number 3161, ad valorem tax, authorize a tax credit for certain refineries of oil, gas, and petroleum products.
Senator Harkins.
Make the usual motion.
Senator, make the usual motion. Anyone object? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator Harkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a bill that it's a revenue neutral bill. What we're doing is, a long time ago, there was a tax exemption for encourage refineries to invest in Mississippi to refine oil, and it's being challenged in court. And so what we're trying to do is to uphold the intent of the law in the beginning and create a tax credit on ad valorem taxes for oil that is either about to be refined, being refined, or has just been refined on their inventory. And so what we're doing is we're changing it from an ad valorem exemption to a tax credit against those ad valorem taxes. And this legislation would just simply shift the exemption over to the hard asset. So where the refinery paid ad valorem on that, they would get a tax credit against the other ad valorem taxes they pay. And that is a explanation of the bill. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, Senator Harkins.
I move passage on the morning roll call.
Senator suggests to use the morning roll call final passage. Does any senator object to this procedure? Any senator wish to be recorded as voting no? Present. Seeing none, please record all present by the use of morning roll call as voting aye. The bill is passed. Senator Harkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to item 10, Senate Bill 2318. Have the title read.
Please read the title.
Senate Bill number 2318, ad valorem taxes, authorize local governments to grant exemptions for raw materials and work in progress inventory.
I make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. Anyone object? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. The ayes have it. Senator Harkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a bill Senator Parker Blackwell McClendon brought to us, and what we're doing here is basically codifying some of the exemptions on raw materials, work in progress, and inventory These exemptions are given on the local level, and they are discretionary. This is at no cost to the state, but these are exemptions that counties may give, and there was some question. Some counties they're already doing it, but some counties had made the comment that they didn't know if they really had the authority to do so. They are being approved by Department of Revenue, so what we're just doing is making sure it's codified, and it is on raw materials, work in progress, and finished goods of manufacturers. So this is discretionary. It's not mandatory. It's up to the county if they choose to do that. I've talked to Department of Revenue, and they did not have any objections to this. It just clears it up. So that is the explanation of the bill. I'll be happy to yield for any questions.
Senator Whaley, do you have an introduction at the proper time? Okay. Any questions on the bill? No questions, Senator.
I move adoption or final passage by the morning roll call.
Senator suggests the use of morning roll call for final passage. Any senator object? Any senator wish to be recorded as voting no? Present. Seeing none, please record all present by use of morning roll call as voting aye. Senator Whaley, you recognized for introduction.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the South Gallery, on behalf of Senator Chisholm and myself, we have a group of students from West Union High School representing their senior government class along with their teachers. I'd ask them to please stand up and allow the Senate to please make them feel welcome.
Welcome to your Senate. Senator Hickman, you have an introduction?
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
You're recognized for an introduction.
Senator, in the West Gallery, a good friend of mine and fraternity brother, Brother Cleotha Taylor, is in the gallery. Would you please stand? Along with him is Teach Plus. Will the members of Teach Plus please stand and let us recognize them and make them feel welcome to the Mississippi State Senate.
Welcome to your Senate. Okay, Senator Harkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to item 11, Senate Bill 3105, and have the title read.
Please read the title.
Senate Bill number 3105, tobacco excise tax, provide rate for heated tobacco products.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. Anyone object? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. The ayes have it. Senator Harkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to recognize Senator Sparks to explain the bill.
Senator Sparks, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 3105 addresses a heated tobacco product for a definition and for a taxing quantity. If you look at the bill, the line 28 adds heated tobacco products under tobacco. The next place in the bill that you will see that addressed is in the definition on line 146, which defines a heated tobacco product. It's a product that does contain tobacco, produces an inhalable aerosol by an electronic device that heats the tobacco without burning it or primarily heats it. It does not include cigarettes. This product is not combustible. It does not burn. Therefore, it does not create much of the issues that you have with a traditional cigarette. There's actually studies out there that there's a reduction of about 92 to 98% of the negative chemicals, harmful things that come through a cigarette simply because this product is heated only. It is not burned, but it is in fact tobacco. So in Section 2, we address again that heated tobacco product and that it will be taxed at the rate of 0.17 per heat stick, which these things will be bought most likely in packs of 20s. And it's a single-use unit sold for consumption, and that would be 3.4 cents per pack of 20 heat sticks. That is a brief explanation of the bill. This product has been in about 80 countries. There is no youth uptake issue with this product. It is a tobacco product. It does not come in fruity flavors. It comes in a regular, a light, a menthol, and a light menthol. This is addressing people who actually are smokers, and we're trying to have a harm reduction product for them, and that is what the FDA is addressed to point out, that it is a harm reduction product, and that's why it is being categorized differently and taxed differently. And in addition to that, because it's not combustible, it does not burn, it does not create smoke, therefore it does not create secondhand smoke. That is a brief explanation of the bill, Mr. President, and I would yield to any questions.
We have a couple, Senator. Senator Hickman, did you have a question, or was that from the last introduction? Have a question?
Question, Mr. President.
You yield?
I yield.
Senator, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Chairman Sparks. Just a quick question. I understand that this product is not categorized as a cigarette, or this definition would take it from that. Why is this product not categorized as a cigarette opposed to what the categorization we're giving it?
Are you referring to the difference between federal law and state law?
Yes.
Okay. Well, federal law, as much as sometimes I'd like to vote on it, I don't get to. Their definitions are from the 60s. When those definitions were made, heated tobacco products did not exist. We as a state are addressing the excise tax for state tax purposes. We hope the federal government will eventually recognize the value in reducing harm to people who choose to inhale tobacco, and that they will join us in recognizing this particularly as that. But for the purpose of a definition for the state tax code, that's why it is being classified and defined as such.
So we're ahead of where the federal government should be going.
As usual, we are ahead of the federal government. Thank you. Thank you for your question.
Senator Jordan, do you have a question?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I'm trying to understand about...
Okay, do you yield, Senator Jordan?
Yes, I yield, Senator Jordan.
Thank you. You said it doesn't have any heat or smoke?
It does not burn. It is something that is only heated, I think, approximately to 600 degrees, where a cigarette burns at 1,200 degrees. So because it is never lit on fire, it does not create smoke.
What does it do then? It just, why would one want to use it? How do you get to tobacco to get the taste or this, whatever reason they're smoking it for?
Yes, sir. Good question. Because when the tobacco is heated, it does deliver the flavoring, it delivers the nicotine, it delivers the substance in the product that people want to receive, but it cuts out about 92 to 98% of the stuff you don't want in your system, the tars, the toxins, the carbon monoxide. But because it's never on fire, it's heated to the extent that you can inhale what you want from the tobacco.
But it does contain that harmful chemical in that cigarette, but it just doesn't heat up until to the point where it would be exposed as it is in cigarettes.
Well, I think that it delivers the taste and it delivers the nicotine, but it does not deliver those harmful products.
But they are in that product, though, in that cigarette. Are those harmful products in that cigarette?
Well, the products we're talking about, the products that over the years, the byproducts, if you will, of actual cigarette smoking is because you have a fire, because you burn something. It's not created because you never burn it. So what you're drawing into your lungs, what you're drawing into your system, those negative issues are reduced between 92 and 98% because it never was put on fire. Just like if I burn a brush pile. If that brush pile lays there, there's no smoke, there's no issue. If I set it on fire, it has some elements.
But those dangerous chemicals are in that substance.
They're not deliverable because...
I know they're not deliverable, but they are there.
I think you have to have the fire before you have the carbon monoxide.
But they are available in that particular product, aren't they?
No, sir.
They're not available?
Not unless you set it on fire.
You're not answering my question. But let's say you don't set it on fire, but they are available in that product, those chemicals.
I'm not trying to avoid your question, I promise, but if I took that piece of paper laying on my desk and set it on fire and put it under my nose, I don't know what all chemicals are released from that fire.
Sure.
And so what's in that cigarette is tobacco. And when that cigarette, traditional cigarette, is put on fire, it then creates all these other substances that go into your system. If the tobacco is never ignited and combusted, This device has a little electrode that goes into that heat stick. It actually heats the product to deliver the desired effect of tobacco, nicotine, etc., but without those harmful items that you're referencing.
But they are available in that product.
Only if you set it on fire.
But they are available. But if you don't set it on fire, the product on fire, then they will not harm you.
Yeah, and if I set the actual package they come in on fire, there will be harmful elements that come from that too. But like I said, this product cannot be properly used if you tried to light it. It works off of a electric current, and it never rises to the level of combustion.
Still confused. You hadn't answered my question. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator.
I'm sorry, Senator Derek Simmons, you have a question?
Friendly question, Mr. President.
You yield, Senator Simmons.
I yield.
Senator Simmons, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chairman, I think you said it in your introduction, but you said that this product is 95% safer.
That's the risk reduction, yes. And it goes back to Senator Jordan's question, and that's what I've tried to make sure, is that if you don't light it on fire, then the risk reduction is in that range, which is why it has a different classification. And this product is not made to be combusted. I can assure you, if you try to light it on fire, it wouldn't be a pleasant experience, and no one's going to do that.
And also, in that risk reduction, also it's beneficial to secondhand smokers as well, correct?
100%. You know, we obviously in this state, we want healthier outcomes. Smoking is something that we know over the years that have impacted health in this country and in this state. This reduces that risk greatly, because if I could wave a magic wand tomorrow and everyone would stop smoking, that would be the actual good thing to do. But short of that, we try to reduce risk. And in this case, we've reduced risk to a great degree, 95%. There's a lot of things in this country that aren't good for us. I wish we had a product that could reduce risk 95%. This is not going to start new smokers. This is going to be people who actually smoke, who say, you know, I know this is probably not real good for me. I'm going to give this a try. They've spent billions of dollars on the technology so that it would mimic the positive parts, if you will, or the non-negative parts of actually smoking a cigarette, where it actually mimics that, so that the hope is some people who smoke will move to heated tobacco and will be healthier because of it.
Thank you, Chairman Sparks, for yielding, and thank you for your work on this bill.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay, are there any other questions? Seeing no other questions, Senator, motion?
Title sufficient do pass. Morning roll call.
The senator suggests the use of morning roll call for final passage. Any senator object to this procedure? Any senator wish to be recorded as voting no? Present. Present, Senator Branning. Anyone else wish to be recorded? Present. Seeing none. Oh, I'm sorry. Anyone else?
DeBar.
Oh, Senator DeBar, present. Anyone else? Seeing no others, please record all others present by the use of morning roll call as voting aye, and the bill has passed. Senator Harkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to item 12, Senate Bill 3070, and have the title read.
Please read the title.
Senate Bill 3070, Income Tax and Insurance Premium Tax, authorize a credit for certain investments in qualified community development entities.
I make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. Anyone object? All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator Harkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to recognize Senator Johnson to explain the bill.
Senator Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 3070 renews the new market tax credits. The new market tax credits incentivize capital investment into businesses located in Mississippi that are doing business in low-income census districts. This mirrors federal tax credits, and the anticipation is that the federal tax credits will grow from $5 billion to $10 billion in the upcoming year. And so some states have raised the percentage of their tax credit, like Louisiana is at 55%, and Georgia is at 60%. Mississippi's currently at 24%, and we're the lowest in the nation. This would raise that to get it more in line with what other states are doing and raise the amount of capital that can be invested through the new markets tax credits, making us more competitive to draw down more money that's allowed through the federal tax credit. And that's an explanation of what the bill does.
Okay, are there any questions? Seeing no questions, a motion, Senator. I'm sorry, we do have one. Senator Hill, do you have a question?
Yes.
You yield, Senator Hill.
Yes.
Senator Hill, you recognize.
I guess two questions. First question, is there a cap on these credits? And the second question is, can you give me an example of who one of these tax credits would benefit?
Sure. Okay, so the cap under this bill would be $100 million per year for 3 years, so $300 million total. And and when those investments are made, if they're paid off early, they have to keep that money, the full amount, working for 7 years, so they keep investing in Mississippi businesses. Some companies that they have invested in, Ocean Aero and Gulfport, Lockers Manufacturing in Batesville, Campaign Microsystems in Starkville, and there's a handful of others. And if there's no further questions, we'll move passage using the morning roll call.
Seeing no further questions, the Senator suggests the use of morning roll call. Anyone object to this procedure? Anyone wish to be recorded as voting no? Present. Seeing none, please record all present by the use of morning roll call as voting aye. The bill is passed. Senator Harkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to item 13, Senate Bill 3099, and have the title read.
Please read the title.
Senate Bill number 3099, income tax, authorize a credit for certain employees that sponsor skills training for employees.
Senator Harkins.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. The ayes have it. Senator Harkins.
I move we adopt the committee substitute. Be recognized to explain it.
You're recognized to explain, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, this bill is basically reinstituting a tax credit program we had on the books several years ago. It provides a 50% income tax credit to employees who directly work with community colleges and help pay for instructional materials to train their workforce. It is to be an employer-sponsored training program, and they have to work with community college in the county in which they are located. The community college has to certify the company is eligible. The credit cannot exceed $2,500 per trainee per year. With the skilled labor shortage, manufacturers and other businesses are increasingly having to hire unskilled or underskilled labor to meet demand, and this is an opportunity to help train those people and to improve workforce participation rate. And this public-private partnership between the employers and the community colleges is kind of an effective method to solve this problem. The maximum aggregate amount of tax credits that may be claimed by all taxpayers under this section in a taxable year should not exceed $1 million. I think the last year it was in effect, it was around $700,000 in 2016 or 2017. So we'll institute a $1 million cap and see how it goes and see what the response is with our community colleges and our employers. So that is the explanation of the committee sub. I'll yield for any questions.
Are there any questions?
Seeing none, I move we adopt the committee substitute.
Thank you, but Senator Seymour, for a question?
Yes, Mr. President.
You yield, Senator Seymour.
I do.
Senator Seymour, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I look in there and we're talking about the junior colleges and all with our workforce training, basically. Would this also apply, could this apply to our CTE programs with our high schools?
Well, I think this is more relegated to on-the-job training. It's company-specific, and as they hire employees, they are training them with their community colleges. So if a person in high school was going to go take a job right out of high school and start working for a company, I guess they could be involved in this. They could work with it. I don't see why not, but this is typically directed at employers partnering with community colleges that have these credential classes and doing on-the-job training for specific skilled labor.
Well, our
I think I understand the gist of it.
Our electric corporates are already putting this workforce into our high schools for lineman training and all, and like on the coast, Ingalls does this with our welding and pipe fitting programs, so it should be also included for our CTEs, I believe.
Yeah, I believe that those are, you've mentioned some of the companies that are very interested in this legislation. I think that's what they're trying to do, but I don't know as whether it's directly impacted with the CTE program. But we can find out. If it makes sense, I'm sure it would be part of it, but we'll continue to work on that.
Okay, seeing no further questions, Senator Harkins suggested use
Adoption of the committee sub.
Oh, move for adoption of the committee sub. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator Harkins.
Move final passage on the morning roll call.
The senator suggests the use of the morning roll call for final passage. Any senator object this procedure? Any senator wish to be recorded as voting no? Present. Seeing none, please record all present by the use of the morning roll call as voting aye. Senator Harkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to item 14 on the day's calendar, Senate Bill 2990, and have the title read.
Please read the title.
Senate Bill number 2990, taxation of oil field services, restructure.
Senator Harkins.
Make the usual motion.
Senator, make the usual motion. Anyone object? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator Harkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move we adopt the committee substitute and recognize Senator Carter to explain the bill.
Senator Carter, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The primary purpose of this bill is to clear up some currently confusing situation regarding the taxation of services and purchases in the oil field. Income from drilling, workover, and completion services is taxed at the contractor's rate of 3.5%, while gross income and all other oil field services and purchases is taxed at 7% sales tax rate. There's been confusion amongst the Department of Revenue staff and resulted in inconsistency in application over the last 10 years. To clear the confusion, the industry is recommending all oil field services and purchases be taxed at a single rate of 4%. The drilling activity has been minimal for 10 years now. The Department of Revenue staff has consulted on the draft of this legislation and is in agreement that Senate Bill 2990 should help fix the current confusion and inconsistent application. There's also a reverse repealer in this bill, and I'll yield for questions.
Okay, are there any questions? See no questions, Senator. Motion.
I move that we adopt the committee sub.
Senator moves to adopt the committee sub. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator Carter.
Move passage on the morning roll call.
The senator has suggested passage by use of morning roll call. Any senator object? Any senator wish to be recorded as voting no? Present. Seeing none, please record all present by the use of morning roll call as voting aye. Senator Michelle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to the rules calendar and ask that we pass items 15, 16, and 17, that they retain their place on the calendar. And I'd like to go to item 18, Senate Resolution number 60, and ask that the title be read.
All right, 15, 16, 17 pass and retain their place on the calendar. Go to item 18. Please read the title.
Senate Resolution number 60, commend Raymond High School Rangers basketball team for winning second class 4A state championship in the last 3 years.
Senator Michelle.
Thank you. I'd like to make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. Anyone object? All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator Michelle.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a resolution commending the great season that the Raymond High Rangers boys basketball team had. They had a remarkable record of 31-4. They won more games than a public school in the whole state of Mississippi, and at the end of the year, they finished at the top team, capturing the #1 ranking in the state in all polls. It's truly a remarkable season, and Senator Frazier has a presentation lined up for tomorrow morning. So if there's no questions on this, I'd like to move final passage by use of the morning roll call.
Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, the senator suggests the use of morning roll call for final passage. Does anyone object? Does anyone wish to be recorded as voting no? Present. Seeing none, please record all present by the use of morning roll call as voting aye. Senator Michelle, on 19 through 20.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to pass items 19 through 24 and ask that they retain their place on the calendar.
Items 19 through 24 will retain their place on the calendar. Thank you, Senator. right, next for concurrence and non-concurrence calendar. Senator DeBar. Senator Barr, pass and retain. Senator Barr? Yeah. Okay. We'll go to item 26. Senator Carter.
I'm asked that the title be read on item 26 today's calendar.
Please read the title.
Senate Bill number 2453, inadequate service, authorizing commission to cancel a municipality certificate to provide service upon findings of.
I move we concur and be recognized to explain.
You're recognized to explain.
All they did was make this bill effective upon passage. That's the only change that they made in the bill that we passed here in the Senate. Yield for questions.
Are there any questions? Seeing none.
I move that we do concur.
The motion is we do concur.
Morning roll call.
By the use of morning roll call. All in favor say, oh, well, no. Anyone object? Anyone to which be recorded voting no. Seeing none, please record all. Senator Horn is no? Is no. Okay. Anyone else? Please record all others present by use of morning roll call as voting aye. All right, we'll go to the general calendar now. Item 27, Senator Fillingane, pass and retain. All the way through, Senator. All the way through 35. We'll pass and retain it through item 35. Senator Simmons, for what purpose? Item 36, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I go to item number 36 on today's calendar and ask that the title be read.
Please read the title.
Senate Bill number 2143, ad valorem tax, designate the authority of certain counties to levy up to 7 meals for garbage collection.
I make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. Anyone object? All in favor say aye. All opposed no. The ayes have it. Senator Simmons.
Mr. President, I ask that we recognize Senator Blunt to explain the bill.
Senator Blunt, you're recognized to explain.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 2143 deals with one county, Hinds County, which under the current law is eligible to assess up to 7 mills for garbage collection, because at the time the law was passed, Hinds County had a population in excess of 250,000. The only thing the bill would do is lower that number, 250,000 to 200,000. That's because the county has lost population, no longer has 250,000 people. Again, the bill is strictly limited to Hinds County, and we've been asked by the Board of Supervisors for the bill. It does not change the millage that they are allowed to collect. I'll be happy to answer any questions, Mr. President.
Are there any questions? Senator Hill, do you have a question?
Yes.
You yield, Senator Hill.
Yes,
Senator Hill, you're recognized.
So this is already in place for the city of Jackson. They're just lowering the population threshold because they've lost population, correct?
It's for Hinds County. There are 3 counties in the current law, and they're defined where highways intersect, like you sometimes see, but the county where the highways intersect is Hinds County and Hinds County only, and we're just changing the number 250,000 to 200,000.
So when is the last, are they currently collecting the 7 mills now?
They would like to, I don't think they are, but I don't know the answer to that. But they want the option that they had previously had prior to their loss of population.
So I'm interested in when's the last time they collected these taxes, because this will be a 7 mil tax increase on the residents if they've not been collecting it.
That's up to the board. The board, it doesn't mandate any tax increase one way or the other. It simply allows them the option that they had prior to their population going down. Okay. But the board, it does not change, nothing in this bill changes the taxes. The board may set the taxes and may assess the millage.
Okay. I'm just interested in when's the last time they've assessed it. Thank you.
Okay. I'll try to find that out, Senator. Thank you.
Okay, no other questions, Senator?
If there are no other questions, Mr. President, my motion is passage by use of the morning roll call.
The senator suggested use the morning roll call final passage. Anyone object to this procedure? Anyone wish to be recorded as voting no? Senator Hill is no. Senator Chisholm, no. Anyone else? Anyone wish to vote present?
Senator McCon.
Senator McCon present. Anyone else? Please record all others present by the use of morning roll call as voting aye, and the bill is passed. Now, Senator Bryan pass and retain item 37. We'll go to item 38. Senator Bryan again pass and retain. And 39. Senator Bryan. Pass and retain. Okay, thank you, Senator Bryan. Okay, that concludes the calendar of the day unless someone wishes to go back. If not, then we're ready for announcements, and Senator Barnett, announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Corrections will meet right after we adjourn today in 409 for about 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Parker, announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. AET will meet tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. in room 210.
Thank you, Senator Parker. Next, Senator Younger for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ag Committee meeting will meet at 3 o'clock this afternoon for a real quick meeting. And today at 11:30 at the farmers market, the catfish farmers of Mississippi will be feeding everybody. Come eat catfish.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Hobson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Announcement and adjournment in memory.
You're recognized, Senator.
Appropriations will meet tomorrow morning at 10:30, room 216. And for the adjournment in memory, I ask that we adjourn today in memory of Margaret Salmon Bucci from Vicksburg. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Fillingham, announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the morning at 9 a.m. in room 409, Judiciary B will meet.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Branning for an announcement.
Announcement and 2 adjourning memories, please.
You're recognized.
Just a reminder that Highways and Transportation will meet today at 2 o'clock in room 216. And then as we adjourn today, I ask that we do so in memory of Dan Jordan, formerly of Philadelphia, and Pat Mullins of Lee County. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Whaley for announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, the Senate Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks Committee will have a meeting at 1:30 in room 409. You definitely don't want to miss it. We're going to be dealing with possum hunting.
Thank you, Senator Whaley. Senator Harkins.
I don't know if I can top that.
I don't either.
Finance Committee will meet tomorrow at 1:30 in room 216.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Blackwell, announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Medicaid will meet at 1:45 in room 216 or immediately following education.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Turner Ford.
Thank you, Mr. President. Drug Policy will meet tomorrow afternoon at 2:30 in room 216.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Suber for announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. 2 announcements. First, tomorrow, Public Property will meet at 1 o'clock in 210. And the other, I'd like to hold item 26, Senate Bill 2453 on a motion to reconsider.
Please join the chairman. Thank you, Senator. Senator Michelle.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Senate Insurance Committee will meet Thursday morning in room 216 at 9 a.m. Excuse me, 216, 9 a.m.
Thank you, Senator Michelle. Senator Wiggins, announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. You won't want to miss this one either. JED will meet at standing meeting tomorrow at 3 o'clock in room 409.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Derek Simmons.
Adjourning member, Mr. President.
You're recognized.
Mr. President, when the Senate adjourns today, I ask that we adjourn in memory of the mother-in-law of my district attorney, Dwayne Richardson, and the mother of a notable OBGYN, Dr. Lakeisha Richardson in Greenville. Her mother was murdered on this weekend, and her name was Vanessa Hollins. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator McCon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Announcement.
You're recognized for an announcement.
Tomorrow, your Forestry Committee will be meeting in room 409 at 1 p.m. We have 2 nominations and 1 bill. Should be a pretty short meeting. Additionally, an adjourn in memory.
You recognize.
All right, as we adjourn today, I'd ask the Senate to be in thoughts and prayers for Mr. Lee Youngblood, who's over at the Treasurer's Office, a good friend of ours. His mom, who lived a gracious and long life, did pass away recently this past week, so we do join in him this morning.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Bryan.
Public Health will meet at 3 p.m. this afternoon.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Wiggins.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry, my assistant reminded me that the meeting tomorrow for J-Day will be in room 216. I appreciate her reminding me, and not 409.
Thank you, Senator. Okay. Senator McMahon.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to hold item 4 on today's calendar, Senate Bill 3163.
Please join the chairman. Okay, any other announcements? If not, Senator Polk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the Senate stand in recess until 5 p.m. today, at which time the journal will reflect that we're adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Senator moves the Senate stand in recess till 5 p.m. today, at which time the journal will reflect we stand adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow. All in favor say aye. All opposed no. The ayes have it. The Senate stands in recess.